everybody. Welcome back to this next episode of Hot Mics. I'm Mike Starner, and I'm joined with my friend here,
What's up?
Micah
Micah
Thompson.
Thompson here. Good to see everybody. How you, Mike?
I'm doing good. I'm running on fumes, man. We're getting back from our big NICA show and convention and trade show, man. I'll tell you what, that is a week long of good times and hard work and late nights, and man, I'm just ready for a nap.
Now that's the big show for you guys, right? That's the granddaddy of them all for the year, I guess.
That's our Super Bowl. We had, close to 1,100 people in attendance. Wow. I mean, no, I'm sorry, 11,000 people in attendance. I mean, that's how big this thing has gotten for us. And we have a really big trade show where we have a lot of vendors and things. So it was really exciting. One of the things we did this year was pretty neat, man. Is we brought our what we call JTCs, which is a Joint Apprenticeship Training Committee. So NICA and IBW, we sponsor these local areas and support the training programs. And so each one of our areas has one of these JTCs. So we invited some out. We had some folks from our Missouri Valley JTC, which is out there in Des Moines, Iowa, and we had some folks from our American Line Builders apprenticeship training facility, which is over there in Dayton, Ohio. So we had a pretty good mix. We were up in Chicago, the Windy City, which we had a great time. There's a lot of stuff to do there, man. But what was cool about those apprentices coming is they got to showcase their skills. We had a couple challenges. The higher step apprentices had to do a transbagger transformer connection challenge. Show us what they know about sequence of connections and voltage classes and proper wiring and that kind of stuff. So that was fun. And then the lower step apprentices had to establish an EPZ properly. And so that was on the tabletop unit, but it was all line work. It's not something we traditionally have on our trade show floor. It tends to be more around industrial and commercial electricians. So having some linemen out there, and guess what? The byproduct, Micah, is that these guys get to see how the sausage is made. An apprentice doesn't always get to see the ecosystem that surrounds them. The different organizations, the contractors, the vendors, the local unions, how they come together to help them be the best they can be. And so we had a good time. How about you?
Oh man, that sounds like a great time. I got to circle back on that because I got some questions for you. But yeah, man, it's been good here. Busy, traveling a lot myself. Want to hear more about the show, and then I can share a little bit about an adventure I went on a few weeks ago. But man, just hitting up my co-ops and trying to do the grind, man. And have a life at the same time. Which the challenge of doing that. So busy, man. I'm on the road this week at one of my cooperatives on the coast, hosting some meetings for them. Been here 2 days, got one more to go, and was at another cooperative for 3 days last week, one of my larger ones. So just visiting with their folks, man. Really got a cool story about last week that I want to get out there too, sharing how that meeting went. But no, man, tell me about the show. You talked about having the Super Bowl of the year. How long is the show? How long did it last? All week? Is it Monday to Friday?
Excuse me. Yeah, we get started on Friday, and then on we have some business to take care of, right? So that's our convention. So there's some board of governors meetings, some business to take care of, and they they'll discuss various topics. We'll give them sort of the state of the union address. We'll tell them how we're doing financially. We'll talk about all the different programs and things we have available for our contractors and our chapters. And we talk a little bit about, any kind of business that needs to get voted on. We approved our new standing policy 19, which is our safety and health policy. And so our bylaws require us so often we go through those policies and make sure they're up to date. One of the things that we did was we added more language in there around mental health, total worker health. It's not just the occupational hazards that we face, right? It's all those social, all those personal kind of things that find their way into the workplace and, affect how good a person's going to be on any given day. So we want to make sure that was incorporated in our policy. We got that across the finish line. My partner, Wes, who's our inside safety guy, he did a lot of work working with our safety task force. So we have a subcommittee that sort of gives us direction when it comes to safety and health. And it's our contractors that have, sort of a soft spot in their heart for safety. They volunteer their time and they do things like work on this policy. So I know West did a lot of work, our safety task force did a lot of work, and we got it across the finish line. And it just makes things more modern. And then, once business is done and we open up the trade show floor, the NECA show is the country's largest electrical contracting show. So we have, equipment manufacturers, we'll have vendors, we'll have suppliers, service providers, all kinds of folks related to the, electrical construction industry coming in and showcasing things that they do. We have tons of education. We'll have trade show floor education. We set up these little classrooms right on the trade show floor, and so folks can attend that. We'll have breakout sessions and workshops happening in various places throughout the conference center. So
Did you host a workshop? Did you do a breakout?
Yeah, we do a safety roundtable. We do that every year, me and my partner, and we really enjoy that because it's not a slideshow. We have one slide up, and we just talk about what we've been up to since the last conference. And then we talk about, sort of some current trends, issues that we need to discuss. And then we leave it up to open discussion. And we get a lot out of that because we get to hear from the voice of the customer. I don't know if you feel this way, but, in our roles, we're not directly involved with anything anymore. We have to rely on what people tell us. Me and you, and I know we've talked about this on this podcast before. We try to get in many places as we can where our interests are at stake and making sure that we have a voice. So whether that's, getting out and working with our contractors or working with the regulators or working with the customer base, understanding what the issues are important. And there's nothing better than hearing it straight from the horse's mouth, if you want to say it that way.
Dude, if we can acknowledge that, on any certain day, obviously with, different conferences and classes and trainings, it's all going to be different, but pretty good chance some of the normal rooms you and I are in, there's 20 to 25, 30 industry experts sitting out here who do it day after day after day after day. And some of the best meetings that I've been in, man, in my career, traveling and teaching and trying to do some safety training, man, it's just when we get so off of the script and just talk and share and keep it real. And it's actually something that's happened this week a little bit while I'm down here at one of my cooperatives. We're doing some trenching and shoring refresher training. And I'm like, look, man, I've got all the stuff that we need to talk about up here, but I'd love to hear what's happening on the ground. I'd love to hear what you remember. I'd love to hear some of the policies and rules that you practice and preach on a day-to-day basis and really share. And yesterday it was really great. 3 offices I have to go to, and man, we deviated from the normal meeting real quick, and it was really good. And then sometimes what you get, you'll get quality over quantity, and that's what we're after, man. So I'm right there with you. That's exciting stuff. So
you think about what we try to do here on this PeerCast, right? Is to give some information that's useful for the folks coming behind us, safety professionals or folks that have responsibilities for safety. So anybody who's watching or listening here today, just think about how you can create a more authentic message. How can you engage with the group that you're in a way that you're not beating them to death with a PowerPoint or preaching and, where they're just kind of following along and then the session's over and you say dismissed and you never really got anything out of it. How can you be a facilitator?
Yeah. That's an old Einstein quote. I believe it was it may not have been attributed to Einstein, but I think it was and help me because I know you've heard this. It's teach me I may forget. It's 3 things, man. Or it's tell me I may forget, teach me I might learn, involve me, right? Involve me and I'll really learn from that if you can create an interactive space. And man, linemen are tough to get to wake up and be vocal, especially in an intimate space or where there's management in the room. So I'm proud of a lot of co-ops that I got that have the freedom to speak, man, and I sometimes I got to pull it out of them, but when they're willing to speak, it actually speaks into the culture that they got, that they're already comfortable enough to do that. Like we talked with Alice the other week about open communication and sharing ideas and them having a voice. It really speaks volumes. The culture they got.
That's right. I mean, you think these guys are just out there showing up for a paycheck, going, going to do what they got to do and get out of here. And there's very little investment from these folks, but that's not the truth. We talked to Alex. That was a good example. He's got a lot of insight as far as where he thinks industry should be going and how some methods that he uses to engage with his workforce out on the job. And so drop down in the chat. Anybody that's watching us, what are you guys doing to drive engagement and be more authentic and connecting with the people you're around? Maybe you're not doing a presentation like me and Micah do. Maybe you're leading a job briefing. Maybe it's a service center meeting, and the manager asks for somebody who wants to say a few things. Don't sit in the back of the room sitting on your hands. One of the things I've been talking to our apprentices about is if you think about our industry as a bank account, and you can either make deposits or take withdrawals. How many, and there's going to be withdrawals. This is a business where you got to give and take, but are you taking more than you're giving? Because guess what? Me and you standing on shoulders of giants. All those folks that came before us. That's why we have nice bucket trucks. That's why we have advanced tools. That's why we have PPE that protects us. That's why we have methods that learn from past events. And if all you're doing is just calling it in, you're setting the next generation up for failure, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And so it's funny you bring that up because, man, we look at how far we've come and how far we've grown. That's another kind of journey that I've been on a little bit from a historical standpoint. You know me, man, big history nerd. Man, I had a really cool, unique opportunity a little over a month ago now to partner up with the International Lineman Museum. So if you guys are out there listening or have never heard of the International Lineman Museum, man, please go check them out. I can throw a link out in our uh, blast out when we do the episode to go track those guys down. They're on social media and Facebook. They got a website, and the Lineman Museum used to be in Shelby, North Carolina, and they're run by Andy Price, CEO of the American Safety, where he worked for years with his father, and then started the Lineman Museum, and now they're in Florida, Breva, and man, I had a chance to meet him a few years ago through an event, through a rodeo, where they have a huge mobile lineman museum trailer that they'll bring out and set up as a mobile museum to kind of let people walk through and see just how far we've come. And so, long story short, man, I had a chance to go down to the new location where the Lineman Museum is at in Florida and build a line inside the new facility there. Build an old line with some old lineman buddies of mine from my co-op. And another cool thing is my statewide association, we have an old 1952 digger derrick truck that we purchased from a member who showed up to an annual meeting, was a junk collector and had an old truck he didn't know what to do with, and called down to the co-op. The co-op CEO reached out to me, and we drove out there, and there's this beautiful 1952 A-frame derrick, man. And so anyways, we were able to purchase that, and it's going to go at our new training center. But until we build the training center, we donated it. And then one of my other co-ops, Berkeley Electric Co-op, had an old truck. They donated theirs. I was on the road, Mike, telling that story, and I was at Broad River Electric Co-op up near Spartanburg, South Carolina, and their CEO's like, we got an old truck too.
Hey,
So
we grew together with all them trucks.
it was crazy, man. And shout out just quickly to CS, our local electric cooperative distribution company here in Columbia. Man, they helped me partner up with another co-op and man drive that other truck down there. So we got three trucks that are going to be on display in the Lyman Museum down in Florida, and got a real big presence there. Love Andy, love that team, and actually had an opportunity through the good graces of Andy, man, to be asked to sit on the board for the Lyman Museum and the Hall of Fame. So that just happened a few weeks ago too. So real excited about that. And yeah, I'll throw a link out there to you so we can get it posted up for everybody to follow and check that out. Really excited about that.
Yeah, congratulations, man. That
Yeah,
is
dude.
not only is that a bunch of fun, but that pole line you built's probably going to be in there for a couple generations until they make
Yeah.
it, which they probably won't do anytime soon. So our grandkids are going to be in there saying, "Yeah, I know the guy that
Yeah.
built that."
And it was, I tell you, it was unique to build a brand new line out of old stuff. And it was the first copper that I ever put up in the air, you know.
I bet you were
It was
measuring two or three times before you made any cuts.
Yeah, we did, and then getting it in the right place and sagged up. We probably set 10. I think we set 10 poles, 12 poles inside the building itself. They got a large space now, and put two circuits on it, one high, one low, dropped one down, and had it all rigged and safe up in the ceilings and bolted to the floor. And they actually, I got to be careful because I'll just ramble for a long time. But man, they got an old Westinghouse generator mini mobile substation rail car that was a train car, man. And they got it in the middle as the power plant where we're going to pull the circuits off and run out to the poles, man. So real excited about all that. I'll keep you updated on that, and maybe I can share some photos and videos and stuff down there. Had a really good interview with Andy Price, and you know what? You and I were talking. We may start posting some of our travels on here, intermediate through our conversations of what we're doing. So it'd be good to see some stuff from the conference, on our platform, and maybe I can share some rodeos or some museum stuff.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, being involved is so important. And, at one point in time, me and you were just a couple of apprentices out there trying to figure it out, right?
Just like yesterday, right?
Just like yesterday. And here you are on board of directors at the Lyman's Museum. I know everybody knows about that museum, and you're able to contribute and add value and move the industry forward, get people interested. So maybe we could talk a little bit about apprentices.
Okay.
We talk a lot of shop here, and sometimes we're talking to industry, but the industry is so dependent on apprentices and how we're developing apprentices.
So our lanes are a little different. So, man, I tell you, from a South Carolina cooperative perspective, man, we have a lot for our 18 co-ops. Every time I go to these co-ops, man, and speak and present and see the guys or do a crew visit, there's 4 or 5 new faces out there every time I go, and your footprint is really huge. So I'm sure you could speak similar conversation to some of the rooms you're in, man. But yeah, I tell you what, we're getting flooded with them. And what does that mean? That means potentially we've got an older generation of a lot of years experience that are gone. And so we're glad to have a new crop, but it may be at the expense of some wisdom and some years of experience who've seen some stuff. So we've got a obligation, just like every year a new crop or a new class rolls through, man, to make sure we're passing that information along, that history or some of those work practices. Is that what you're seeing getting to? You guys got an influx, I'm sure.
Oh my gosh. We had one of the chapters report out, and I think what they told me is they currently have 1,800 apprentices on the books. So think about that. We always talk about we need labor, and we have a manpower problem, and we certainly have issues with getting enough people to build a crew out productively and safely, but we don't have any problem with people interested in getting the trade. I mean, they're lining up and they're figuring out how can I get involved. I think the writing's on the wall that the electrical industry is going to be the industry to be in, no matter what aspect of the industry you're touching, whether it's the low voltage market, the residential market, commercial, industrial, utility market, whether you're working at the co-ops or you're working at the investor owns, or you're working for a contractor to support in that work. Everybody's going to have plenty of work. And so the challenge now is how do we get these, it's kind of along the lines of what you were talking about. How do we get these apprentices the training and skills that they need and the right amount of time? We don't want to speed it up to where we're like rushing people in, and we don't want to, from a business perspective, we don't want to spend more time than we have to. We want to create apprenticeships or training programs, however your system is built out, that these folks that are entering the trade, they get the fundamentals. They understand the hazards associated with this work. They know how to protect themselves. They understand the methods. They understand their contribution to the crew and what the impact they can have with a positive influence and just showing some of that peer leadership on the job. So, I mean, it's not just the nuts and bolts of line work. There's so many things that we can do with interpersonal skills and communication. And I don't know. I mean, what do you guys do? What are you guys doing with your trainees or apprentices to sort of like get their emotional intelligence up? Like, how do you interact with other people in a crew? And that, to me, that seems like the biggest bang for our buck is get these guys to talk to each other.
So, man, this is an interesting conversation. Our department is literally talking about the future, physically and from a personnel standpoint when it comes to how we train. So we have a school at our statewide association. We have a lineman training center, and myself and another gentleman travel and do the cooperative visits out in the field. And when it comes to the lineman training center that we have, our school, we've been in our current location since the 60s. And we just a month ago got the biggest green light on a project to build a new training center this year. We're going to hopefully break ground in November. The cooperative leadership, the board of trustees have all approved the budget. We're in a stage now with the architects and engineers on some final planning. So we're building a new facility for the apprenticeship program that we host. So we're very excited about that. We're going to have, for the first time, multiple classrooms to have multiple events or classes going on at once. We're going to have indoor climbing. We're going to have energized lines for the first time, simulated through some equipment that we went and tested in North Carolina, that you've seen at some of the trade shows that'll do the energized voltage with no load, no amps, no fault current available. And then some of the trans bankers like you saw and mentioned at your show. So we're making steps for that. I think it's a tricky thing, Mike, from a statewide perspective, to really get a foothold on a guy or a foothold on an organization. Because for me, I'm dealing with 18 different companies and 18 different sets of values and 18 different principles. And even though we all adhere to the same general work practices and we all adhere to we have a statewide safety manual that our cooperatives choose or choose not to adhere to and adapt and make their own. Man, my heart and my goal and my passion with a lot of what I do, and I think you do too, man, is to really make sure that our tree foremen are equipped to handle not only the nature of the job, but this influx of apprentices that are coming up through the ranks, how they're so uniquely different from how you and I came up when it comes to terminology, socioeconomic upbringing, background, who's at home, who's not, where they were born, where they were raised. Every one of them was born with one of these. Mm-hmm. And navigating some of those idiosyncrasies out on the crew can make or break an apprentice. And 1 week at our school, 2 weeks at our school, me coming around every 6 months, that's a limited time. So I've got to really make an impact. We got to really make an impact when we do what we do. Man, these foremen though, man, we got to train them and love them because they're the ones who are assuming the responsibility of the equipment, the job site, and the men. And how do we equip them to better serve these apprentices? It's a really heavy thing, man, when you think about what a crew foreman's responsible for. So that's kind of where my heart is. You know, we're having discussions. What else can we do? And, you know, I think that's where we can meet our apprentices, is to make sure we're training the ones who are training them, because that, I think, on the job training is where it's all at.
Yep. And, you know, we used to struggle with taking that guy on the crew who really knows the work and helping them be businessmen, you know, understand how to run a project, how to set a job up, how to do their paperwork, you know, how to lead a job briefing. But the next phase is, how do you lead people? How do you teach people? You know, when you have apprentices or trainees on your crew, you have a responsibility. That's one of those deposits into the bank account that you got to make. And you got to say, you know, how can I, it's tough, right? I mean, adult learners, you know, methods for teaching adult learners, you know, all the different aspects associated with that. What is your ability to communicate? I mean, communication's so big, and just having the mindset that, hey, my job is not just here to get the work done and to make money or to be efficient and productive and keep everybody safe, but I got to set the next man up for success.
Yeah, it's a lot, man. And you think about, you know, the group that's leaving, the years of experience that they're leaving with. Now you could have a crew. Alex touched on it a little bit, and I've had a lot of conversations, I believe, with Jamie and others about, you know, total up the number of years of service on a crew. You're looking at maybe 20 years, 25 years, depending on that dynamic, as opposed to when you and I came up, man, you could have 80 years experience on a crew with a long tenured workforce. And we're in the middle of a shift when it comes to that. So you got a younger group of leadership out there training an even younger workforce. And you make a great point, man, about, oh yeah, here's how to go do the job and good luck with the rest of that stuff. And these guys have a lot on their plate. And man, I think when it comes to first and foremost the safety of it, if anybody's listening out there about how to train or what to do as a young foreman, man, I would say just make sure your values and your priorities line up with the company values and priorities. And hopefully you're working in an organization that understands that yes, we have a job to do. Yes, it's about our members and reliable electrical service and all these things, but not at the expense of what? Not at the expense of our workers, our employees, our mental health to your point, and our physical health. And yeah, we got to keep the lights on. We all know that, but to what cost? And we came from an old group that it was get it on at all costs. And let's go, 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 and we'll pick up the pieces later sometimes. And I can look back on my career and say, man, I should have slowed down. I should have slowed down a lot. Very fortunate that, we had policies in place. We had work practices in place that kept us safe and our hierarchies of controls and all that stuff. But man, a new workforce today, I would just really encourage that, like, man, it's gotta be ingrained in you from when you pull in the gate, when you pull in the gate, what we're about and priorities, man, about keeping things in perspective. That's what I'm trying to do at a lot of the co-ops that I'm traveling and talking to with some of these topics, keep the perspective where it is. It's about people.
Yeah, we have, and in today's line industry, you have access to the most innovative pieces of equipment, technology. Work procedures have been refined over time. The methods that we use, our engineering standards keep getting better. So, there's a lot of safeguards that what we're doing around human and organizational performance and understanding, that the complexity of the interrelationships between the organization and the worker and the leadership and all those things. And then I think back to the guys that were running that old A-frame truck you had before. Those guys didn't have any of that. All they had was experience. And so, which one's better? Is it better to have a crew with a lot of experience without all the safeguards wrapped around it and they're relying on natural instincts and experience? Or is it better to have, all the safeguards wrapped around a crew so it doesn't really matter how much experience? And God, I keep thinking about, well, I wish I had both. I wish I had both. I wish I had all the experience and all the safeguards. But, I guess the argument is you got to start somewhere, right? The best time to plant a shade tree might have been 20 years ago, but the next best time is right now, right? So if we can identify things to make better and improve, and that's one of the things I liked about our conversation with Alex is he's thinking about new things. And in our circles, our training, you'll hear me brag on trainers every day of the week because, you have, there's a lot of different inputs to safe outcomes, whether it's your safety department, your safety professionals, your operational people being tuned in, your CEOs understand the direction, but the trainers understand just about all of it, right? They understand how work procedures are taught and how they're performed in the field. They understand, they hear all the scuttlebutt, what's going on out on the job. And they have, a lot of insight as far as what can be done to make things better. So if you want to show some love, get out there and show some love to these trainers because those men and women are changing the world for our new people, our apprentices that are coming through.
Yep. I couldn't agree more, man. I couldn't agree more.
And you're dancing around. Let me ask you this real quick, unless you got another thought on that.
Well, it's just I think you're exactly right. I just think it's an awareness across the organization, so that there's no assumptions of who we are and what we're about. I'll tell you this real quick. I was very thankful. The cooperative I came from, the CEO there was very gracious and allowed me to be a part of a team that kind of redefined who we were. And he had previously worked at the cooperative, stepped away for a leadership role and came back to be the CEO. And he identified some things that, hey, we could probably change and evolve. And man, he pulled employees in and listened to us. And, we took a giant mission statement that was 3 to 4 sentences long and narrowed that thing down to we make life better.
Mm.
We did a little root cause analysis on what we're doing here. We make life better. That's
That,
what
remi-
that's
that
what our
reminds
mission
me.
statement is.
Sorry, stepping on you. It reminds me of Simon Sinek had that thing with the drew the circle. What's your why? And he always gave that example of like Apple. How they were able to
Yep.
narrow down what their
Yep.
why is in a way that was that
Yep.
went far beyond making
Yeah.
iPhones.
So he let us all identify in every department. You could see every department, accounting, member service, warehouse, billing, the shop. It all. What are we all here to do? Make life better. So that was it. So simplifying that down just helped me and made me comfortable to know that they trusted me enough to make decisions out in the field with outage restoration time, with job procedures, with how I interpreted or adapted our safety rules, and gave me the liberty as a crew foreman to build what I needed to build in my crew in my department that reflected all the way up the chain. And so it was a collective thing, and it wasn't, anybody on an island or departmental silos, which can happen real easy. So that was a huge help to me, man. Just having staff and management that helped narrow down our focus and what really matters. And they said it, and they were in the meetings, and it was more than lip service. They practiced what they preach, and that's another topic that I do. But yeah, what you got for me?
Well, I mean, you're telling me about all your travels in the Southland. I'm wondering how the hurricane season's going. When they were earlier in the year, they're talking about 50% heavier hurricane season than normal, and I don't think we've had any named hurricanes hit the coast yet. I mean, what are you guys thinking about the rest of this year with these storms? We're kind of in the middle of it, right? This should be thick. We should be in the thick of it.
Now we got this may be the one podcast where we get the most comments. They're all coming to you now. They're all
That's
coming
all
to
right.
you. Mike Starner jinxed the whole company. He jinxed the whole country. All right. No, man, you're exactly right. It's almost inevitable, right? And for especially our part of the country, but very fortunate, very blessed that nothing's kicked up. We're coming up on a year in October of the worst storm storm of the century, of the millennium, for us, especially in our state, Georgia, North Carolina. We got, direct hit ground zero from the storm Helene that came up through the Gulf. So we still have residual effects, still have co-ops not 1,000% done with some of that when it comes to cleanup, when it comes to FEMA and all these other things. So yeah, we're only a year removed from the worst one ever. Now I can say, man, we got a lot of new infrastructure out there, so it should be nice and strong and new. But man, when it comes to hazards, when it comes to the trap that is this industry and this game we're playing, it creates a whole new ball of wax. So we actually have a conference in 2 weeks here on the coast, and we've got, very fortunate, another shout out, Miss Tammy Kent, One Source Restoration is coming to speak for us and our group and share some insight and kind of gauge where we're at too. And had a real good conversation with a panel we put together out of the event last year. And our hardest hit cooperative spoke, and Sia spoke about the impact of the storm to create some awareness. So far so good, man. But it could change just like that. And you know this too, man. It doesn't have to be a hurricane. It'd be an afternoon thunderstorm here in the South will make you work 4 or 5 days after 4 or 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. It's we spend a lot of time, and I know as on the utility side, preparedness is so important, and making sure not just that your system is ready, but that your storm response procedures are in place and ready, but also your people are ready. And we talked about all these apprentices coming into the trade, and in the contractor world, we love us some storms, right? We love us some storms, and so keeping guys focused on our day to day blue sky work is so important. And it's very easy for the sexiness of responding to a storm. I want to get in the game. I want to get in the action. I want to go, all the fun things that happen on a storm that you get to know each other and it builds bonds and all that thing. And it can cause frustration. So maybe that's another thing for our safety people listening here. Just make sure you try to manage those expectations and try to get people relaxed. Because what happens is the first big storm we're going to get, because it's been dry for a while, it's going to be everybody's going to want to jump ship and get on this storm. And one of the things we have trouble with is these guys, just responding to Facebook ads and Craigslist ads, and not everybody's an OSR, right? So who are you going to go work for? What kind of safety and management systems are being, wrapped around that work? Are all your benefits being addressed properly, right? Because if you're just getting paid per hour, that doesn't always take care of. So just be smart and be methodical about these storms. Wait for your release, work with your contractor, because they're going to set you up for success and keep you out of hot water. Now, you got some good aggregators out there that do it the right way. So I don't want to poop on the whole thing, but
Yeah.
well, I'm thinking about our apprentices now. Kind of a theme we have on this peercast today. Just be methodical about what these storms are, and just recognize you don't have the experience level, and you get dumped into one of these things last minute, and it can be, look, a storm can be super gravy. You're kind of waiting around. You might put one piece of wire up, or you might get a pole line that's all laying out in the road, and it's going to be Katie bar the door. We're going to be rocking and rolling for 2-3 weeks straight, and so you don't know what you're going to get.
Helene last year, man, was ridiculous. We had multiple cooperatives with 1,000 poles each down. And I talked to a lot of apprentices during the event, after the event, and I was like, look, brother, told a bunch of them, I said, when and if we can make it through it, this will be one of the best things ever happened to you. You may learn more this month when it comes to framing, when it comes to truck setup, when it comes to work positioning, when it comes to rigging, when it comes to all these other things that you try to get on the job throughout the year on those blue sky days. Man, you're going to get flooded with it all right now. And you're going to have to be a sponge, and you're going to have to be very careful. But when and if we can make it through it, man, it's going to make something out of you. And the ones that I talked to, yeah, far better for it, having gone through something like that safely and efficiently, for sure. It's on the job training you can't replace. So, yeah, we're in the middle of it, and hopefully it'll be a slow season here for us. And looking forward to what we got coming up next. I got the conference next week, and then I don't know if you'll be at the International Rodeo or not. Will you be out there?
Oh yeah, buddy. Oh yeah.
I figured as much. So
Oh yeah. I wouldn't miss it.
I'll be there for the first time, man, because of the partnership I have with the Lyman Museum now, and the Hall of Fame, the International Hall of Fame inductees that they do every year out there at the rodeo. So I'm looking forward to that for sure. Get a chance to go out there. I've never been. Really excited about that. Taking my wife, and then also I'll be speaking in Missouri, doing some leadership training in October. What you got coming up?
Well, we're certainly going to be there. We're excited about that. We sponsor the safety conference, and collectively with IBW, we sponsor the trade show through what we call Powering America. But we're going to have a chance. They offered us a chance to say a few words at the beginning of the safety conference, so you'll get to hear from me, give a little pep talk. My favorite thing is there's a lot of pre-apprentices, line school guys in that audience, and I love to address them because they're fresh, bright-eyed, ready to go, and I like to talk about what they expect from their career. So I'll say a few words before we get started. I know we have a lot of our members that are going to be doing some sessions. And I'm sure there's going to be some other folks out there that are really good in the circuit of utility safety, giving some pep talks. And of course, the rodeo grounds on the weekends a blast. You get out there first thing in the morning. You got to get out there early, Micah. Get out there when it's just a little bit crisp. They get that crisp fall morning. The sun just starting to come up over the horizon, and all you see is American flags and bucket trucks, baby.
What's better than that?
So we have that, and we have Utility Expo. I don't know if you're going to do anything with Utility Expo, but Utility Expo is the largest trade equipment show in the country.
Man, that's a bittersweet subject here, because that is the week of our engineering conference,
Right.
that our statewide host. So we were kind of at the mercy. You talk about the storm, not to ramble real quick, but we were at the mercy of the storm, having to cancel last year and keep the dates and keep the location for the contract this year. So we had to have our engineer conference coming up again this year, and the same day as the trade show. So we got some that'll be at either or. But really excited about that. A place for all our engineers in the state to come gather together and host that conference just a few weeks after. I'll be at the rodeo. So I
Let me get a
think,
little plug. Let me give you a little plug about it, what we're doing at the expo because
yeah,
we're excited about it. So in the past Nika would just have a little tabletop. We'd hand out some pamphlets and things, let you play putt putt to win something. Well, this year we're going to have an 800 square foot space, and we invited one of our members. Aldridge Electric is going to be there, but they have a non-entry manhole rescue method that they have perfected, and they have a trailer that they use, mobile training trailer to teach that. So that's going to be on our space.
nice.
And then Nika is sponsoring all the education on Wednesday. There's going to be a lineman safety symposium. So all the education will be provided by Nika. I'm going to do a keynote. We're going to have an executive roundtable where we talk about where the industry has been and where it's headed. Give these young guys and I guess anybody in the audience a view of what we think the industry is going to look like. And then we're going to have a field classroom on Thursday, and that's where we're going to do that manhole rescue demonstration with our member. And then we're going to go over to the folks at Buckingham. They're going to do some aerial rescue demonstrations. So if you're in Louisville, October 7th and 9th, come hit me up. You guys can find us on the Nika Trade Show booth. And if you're a Nika member, we're going to have a lot of fun things set up for our members. So just a little plug real quick.
Nice, man. No, that's great. That's great. And I'll get us out of here with just another good thing that we're trying to pull off from a statewide level. Just, man, my co-ops where my heart is. Our foreman's conference is next week. It generally runs Wednesday to Friday. And Wednesday, for the first time in quite a while, we're going to have Rusty Endicott,
Oh, yeah.
Federated, come do a day of uh, accident investigation for us and do a real deep dive on that. We've got a lot of turnover in our safety director roles as well. Some guys haven't experienced some things we're talking about that other generation. So we're going to do a pretty full day Wednesday of accident investigation with Rusty. Love him and our people and partners over at Federated. I really appreciate him coming and doing that, and then kick off the conference the next day. So that's what we got coming up. And like I said, anybody out there, like always, man, throw some ideas at us, throw some conversation talking points at us. If you want to jump on, you got something you want to discuss, please feel free. And look forward to us throwing out some content of us traveling on the road and doing some of the things that we're doing on behalf of our people. So, Mike, this was a good one, man. I appreciate it. I love the heart and direction of where we're going and what the possibilities are for the future. So I appreciate you, man.
Oh, man, I love you. And let me tell you this. Uh, the more we can get on these things of people that do the work, that are in the field, that have questions or have viewpoints or have, their experience that they want to share with the rest of this group, hit us up because next month's podcast, Peercast, I keep saying podcast, but it's not a podcast, it's a Peercast. Our next Peercast, we need to have somebody join us. So if you see this, send us a note. If not, we're probably going to shake the bushes and we'll chase one of you guys out of your hidey holes and we'll get you on here and we'll talk.
Yeah, we got some ideas and some people we could have jump on. But if you want to jump on, man, that initiation, that engagement that you have, you got something to say. We want to hear it. So appreciate you, dude. Hope you have a great rest of your week. Thanks, everybody.
Yep. See y'all.